Welcome back to Legend of Belmonty. Today, Jamie Belmonty and Pow are cooking with gas, and they're cooking up something special here in Season 1. So we left off with Jamie Belmonty needing to bolster the squad and bring in some players, whether that be through free transfers, paid transfers, or even loans. And he got to work. One player that was brought in on loan was Leonardo Barroso from Sporting in Portugal, a dual-footed right back, left back who can also play left wing back or right wing back. Very versatile, very solid on the ball, and he's young enough to where we could potentially bring him back for another season or two if we want to on loan, as loans will be our friends. Now, Belmonty was also working on bringing in two veterans to help this side realize the potential that they could have if they all work together and help this team win. One of those players was Mr. Andre Ayew. Very, very good veteran striker, now 34 years of age, from Ghana. He has lost his legs and his pace a little bit, but he is still pretty solid technically where he needs to be, and mentally is an absolute beast. And he is pretty versatile, just like Mr. Barroso was. Now, another player that has some pretty good versatility, and another veteran forward, is none other than Mr. Jesse Lingard, who I could not believe that we were able to bring in and be a part of Mr. Belmonty's side. Very solid player still, 31 years of age. Says he's a decent Ligue 1 player, which he most definitely is, as he's going to be integral in our push towards the playoffs if we're able to do so. Now, Jesse Lingard, Andre Ayew, and Mr. Barroso all slot right into the starting 11. One thing we'll have to get used to here in France is that we can only have 5 players on loan at a time. And as you can see here, we've got Mr. Barroso, Mr. Mouton, Perengel, and Sila. That is only 4. 3 of those 4 were here prior to us arriving. There was a 5th. I ended up canceling that loan to see if we could bring in another one, but it counts the 5 that you do for the season. So once you've done 5, you can't do any more, which is kind of a bummer. Now, while we were working on getting our signings confirmed, we ended up playing our first 3 games as manager. Our first one coming against our rivals at Rodez AF, where we would get our first goal through an own goal from them, and Moussa Sila would slot a second, putting us up 2-0 in the 31st minute. However, Rodez would give us a scare in the 64th minute where they would bring one back. However, that would not stop us from winning 2-1. We would then have matches against Saint Etienne and FC Annecy. Saint Etienne we ended up beating by a score of 1-0 by a goal through Tino Costa, being down to 10 men, and we beat FC Annecy 3-1. So from our first 3 games, from a possible 9 points, we got all 9. And in the league, that saw us go from 13th up to 10th. We were hitting some fantastic form, and we wanted it to carry on. And carry on did it. Now, it started with a game against Angers, who are one of the big dogs within Ligue 2. They ended up scoring on us in the 6th minute of the match. They would then score another in the 23rd. We found ourselves down 2-0, and this was Jesse Lingard and Andre Ayew's debut. Jesse Lingard would hit an absolutely beautiful goal to get us back within 1. However, in the 31st minute, Angers would have an absolute piss missile of a goal, putting themselves up 3-1, and we found ourselves down 3-1 late in the game. But in the 68th minute, De Almeida finds Jesse Lingard for Lingard to make it a brace on his debut, and Mr. Andre Ayew finds De Almeida once again, who finds Jesse Lingard to make it a hat trick on his debut. And that hectic match finished at 3-3, which that earned us a much needed point. Our next 3 games would take place against Paris FC, Quevilly Rouen, and Grenoble, which we would go on to win all 3, outscoring them in total 4-1. And this set us up for a big time match. So we would be playing against SM Chan, who throughout time have been a Liga side, have some pretty solid players at their disposal, but that wouldn't stop us from going up 2-0 early on with goals from De Almeida and from Moussa Sila. However, they would get a goal back from a pen on Mr. Kamara right there, but thankfully we are a resilient side, and Mr. Bali would score an absolute banger assisted by De Almeida. However, they would get another pen as well, making it 3-2. And then Bato's going to find Mr. 38-year-old Tino Costa, who finds Bali to secure a 4-2 win. You're all probably wondering, why was that game so important for Belmonty and his men? Well, we did start in 13th, and we are now up in 5th place in a playoff spot currently. So we have definitely solidified ourselves in a playoff race. And at that point, after the Chang game, we were on an 8-game heater of collecting points, which were much needed as that secured us a playoff race. Now, we were gonna have a slight hiccup coming up. And that slight hiccup is known as USL Dunkirk. Even though they were in 20th out of 20 teams in Ligue 1 at the time, we just could not find a way to beat them. You look at the numbers, yes, they had one more shot than we did. They did have more shots on target, but we out-XG'd them and we out-possessed them. We played pretty solid. However, in the 87th minute, Semi Baghdadi slotted home a goal and would see us have our first defeat as PAL manager. So after that game, we definitely needed a rebound. And boy, did we rebound. We had a match at home against a club known as Concarneau. And like I said, we needed to rebound, and boy did we rebound, as we would go on to throttle them by a score of 5-1 with much needed players getting goals, because recently Jesse Lingard has kind of been carrying the side, but our squad players started getting goals. Mr. Nyam, who you just scored right there, got 2 of them this game, which he is a youngster that we definitely need to grow, so those goals will definitely help. We would, like I said, win by a score of 5-1, as Concarneau would get a goal late in the game in the 87th minute, as we just could not keep them at bay because of a mistake. But not only did we rebound with a win, we rebounded in form as well. We would beat Amiens by a score of 2-1. We would draw Ajaccio 1-1, beat Valenciennes 4-1, and Laval 3-0, which this set up a very important 3-game run for us against 3 very solid clubs, and this was not going to be easy at all. Coming up, we had Troyes, EA Guingamp, and Angers. Now, our first match that was coming up out of those 3 was against Troyes, which Troyes, for those of you that don't know, are part of the Man City group, so they have not only money, but they also have some pretty solid talent at their disposal. But that did not stop us from giving them a game, as by the 51st minute, we were level at 1-1. However, in the 53rd, Troyes would score on a pen. But Jesse Lingard is about to take on their entire team and score absolute beauty, making it 2-2. Bali is going to end up heading an over-the-top ball to Musa Sila, who's been on absolute fire lately, sliding himself a goal, making it 3-2 for Belmonty's PAL. And De Almeida is going to cut down the wing right here to Musa Sila once again for a 4-2 victory. So, first game out of those 3 is a W with 3 points on the board. Next up, we had EA Guingamp, who have been a Liga side pretty recently as well, and we found ourselves down early once again due to a pen, which we just cannot stop giving away. But Jesse Lingard would equalize in the 24th minute. In the 38th minute, we would get another goal. Mr. Chihiri would find Musa Sila, who would net again. Like I said, man is on absolute fire. However, Guingamp would end up cutting us down and equalizing at 2-2. At this point in the 60th minute, I thought we were going to hold out for a draw, which I definitely would have taken that point. However, Bali and Almeida had other ideas, putting us up 3-2 in the 76th minute, and in the 90th minute, we end up solidifying our win with a goal through Bali, which once again, 4-2 victory, earning us 2 from 2 so far and 6 from 6 for points. This then brought us to the Angers match, which was the final match out of these 3, where we would go up in the 26th minute with a header from Chihiri. Keep in mind, he's 5'7". Mr. Tino Costa would find Chihiri, who would give it right back to Tino Costa, and we would get quite a lucky goal from Mr. Bato, and we desperately needed that goal, as in the 89th minute, Bahoya would give us a scare, but luckily we would end up winning by a score 2-1. Those 3 games were absolutely vital to our season. The reason being is that we took a club that was once relegation threatened to playoffs within the same season, which is absolutely amazing. Belmonty is working his magic, and there is something special brewing here at POW. Now, we secured playoffs with 2 games left in the season, which would see us playing the likes of Bastia and Belmonty's hometown Bordeaux in our final 2 matches. The Bastia match would be fairly straightforward. We'd be playing at home. We want to continue our good home form and our good form in general. And boy did we, as Musa Sila is going to bag himself a hat trick in this match. The man, like I have been saying, is on fire. Prior to us taking over, Bali, who just moved the ball to Sila and now has it once again, and who's about to assist him, he was our leading goal scorer when we arrived, and he only had 7. By the end of the season, Musa Sila is going to take him over by a big number. So after our 4-0 victory against Bastia, we ended the season by playing League champions Bordeaux. And it actually ended in a 0-0 draw. Plenty of goal scoring chances throughout. However, neither team could convert, but a pretty solid game overall. So with playoffs secured, how did the rest of the league shape up? Well, Rodez, Concarneau, Dunkirk, and Laval are all being relegated. Angers, ourselves, and Angers are all in the playoffs, while Saint Etienne and Bordeaux are going up through automatic promotion, Bordeaux winning the league, which they started with a 1-point deduction due to crowd disorder from the previous season. Now, one thing that we definitely need to address when it comes to the playoffs here in France, we will be in a quarterfinal match. Who is that quarterfinal match against? We will be playing Angers. If we beat Angers, we will be playing Angers in the semifinal. If we beat Angers, we will be playing the team that could potentially drop down to Ligue 2 from Ligue 1. As of right now, that is Toulouse. And what sucks about this is that it is all only one leg each time. But before we get into the playoff matchup against Angers, I wanted to show you what the squad did overall since we took over. And like I said, Charles Bali was our leading goal scorer at the time when we took over. He had 7 goals. Charles Bali finished with 12 goals and 8 assists. Musa Sila ended up having 16 goals. He had far fewer goals than Charles Bali when we started off here, and he ended up scoring 4 more goals in total. If we were here for an entire season, I definitely think Musa Sila could have probably scored 30 goals. And some amazing contributions from Jesse Lingard, as in 16 matches, he had 9 goals and 4 assists. Ahmedi Chahiri, our number 10, had 8 goals and 9 assists after we arrived, and he is now wanted from some bigger clubs, as Parma, who want him, are going up to the Serie A. So this is going to be our starting 11 against Angers. We're in good form. I'm feeling confident. Hopefully we can get the result and push on to the semifinal to where we can play Angers and maybe even have a final berth. The one thing that is going to hamper us, though, is that Mr. Almeida, who's been absolutely fantastic for us, is suspended for this match. So Mr. Tino Costa, the 39-year-old now, is going to have to slot in and have a big-time performance for us. So due to us finishing above Angers in the league, that would see us have home field advantage. We would dominate in XG, shots, possession, everywhere where it mattered. However, it was not enough. We would go out by a score of 2-0 to Angers, and they would end up facing Angers in the semifinal. And one man really gave us a hard time. That man was Ibrahima Niane. So hopefully we can bring him in to help our chances next season in being promoted. And like I said, statistically, we dominated everywhere where it mattered. We just could not convert at the end of the day. So in Belmonty's first season at POW, when they approached him, they were in 18th. When he arrived, they were in 13th. He took them to a 4th place finish and playoffs, which I don't think anyone saw coming whatsoever. We would have just been happy staying in the league. He brought in some vets to help the side realize the potential that they have and lead them to winning ways. And not only Andre Ayew, but also Jesse Lingard, who was absolutely fantastic. And we even have another vet ready to go for next season in Mr. Kevin Gamero. This side is playing some special football right now. We need to hope that we can kind of hold on to everyone. We have some free signings coming in. We're going to need to utilize the loan market. Hopefully we can bring back a player like Sila and Barroso on loan so that we can keep these winning ways going, because they were very, very good for us down the stretch. And thankfully, we're going to have some money in the transfer budget to bring in some signings, and we have plenty of money in the wage budget to make it possible. And we definitely will need to improve for Season 2, because there's some big dogs dropping down from Ligue. One of those sides is Clermont Foot, another being Reims, and the third being Toulouse, as Angers would go on to beat them, being that Angers beat Angers. Those names are really confusing and very similar. And you couple those teams with others like Angers staying down, Guingamp staying, Troyes, Paris FC, and even Chan. So Belmonty had a big challenge on his hands in Season 1. He's going to have an even bigger challenge on his hands in Season 2. Thankfully though, board vision wise, they are being realistic and just want a mid-table finish. And also, our contract here does expire, so we might be leaving at the end of Season 2, or they might offer us a new contract. And speaking of a new contract, let's see if it would be worth it for Pau to offer Belmonty one. So in Season 1, Belmonty had 15 wins, 2 losses, 3 draws, 46 goals for when they only had 19 when he arrived, 20 goals against, 26 goal differential. Accumulated 48 points, finishing in 4th place with a 75% win percentage and 20 games played. Absolutely fantastic numbers in my opinion. Hopefully you all feel the same way, because I think Jamie Belmonty definitely deserves a contract renewal. But will he get that contract renewal? I guess we'll have to find out in Season 2.